What's going on, guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital. We're here with John Lee, Executive Chairman at FLYN Nickel Mining. Nice to have you back, John. How are you doing?
Great to be back, Aaron. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's excited to be chatting, especially in these crazy times. Obviously, it's a great day for commodities today. So can you start by giving us a brief introduction to FLYN Nickel Mining, along with telling us a bit more about the company?
FLYN Nickel Mining Corp is a newly listed company on the Toronto Ventures Exchange under the ticker symbol FLYN. We just started trading on Friday, 3 days ago, and the company spun off from Silver Elephant. Elephant had been around for almost a decade and had a bag of tricks, and we chose to spin out the non-silver assets, the non-core assets out of Silver Elephant, and FLYN Nickel Mining Corp is a result of that. The mandate and the focus of FLYN Nickel is on nickel exploration and mining. And the company's recruited recently a number of veterans from Vale and Falconbridge to manage our 100% owned Minago nickel project at the Thompson nickel belt.
Yeah, you guys couldn't have timed that better with the price of nickel to where it is now versus just a week ago. So FLYN Nickel has their Minago project in the Thompson nickel belt in Manitoba. Like you said, can you tell us more about this project and why investors should be paying attention?
Well, Aaron, real quick, nickel's up more than tripled. Yes, as of today, it's halted at $35 on the London Stock Exchange. So the timing couldn't be more succinct. Regarding Minago, well, Aaron, you've been in the resource industry for a while. It's all about the location and the quality of the project. And the Minago is at the Thompson nickel belt. It is the second largest nickel camp in Canada and the fifth largest in the world. The company had excellent infrastructure with the highway and hydroelectric power within 2 kilometers from the deposit. And the property had over $40 million spent at the property. And unfortunately, the previous operator didn't make it through the commodity volatilities. And therefore, Elephant acquired it last year. $40 million, including over nearly 100,000 meters of drillings. This is a well-advanced nickel project with combined measured, indicated, and inferred resources of over 1 billion pounds of nickel in the ground, and about measured, indicated about 700 million pounds, grading at 0.74% nickel. A big portion of that, majority of that is open pittable or open pit optimized. And we're just very fortunate to be able to acquire this project. It's excellent timing.
Yeah, for sure. So, what are some of the major catalysts you see in the near term for FLYN Nickel that shareholders should be looking out for, prospective investors?
Yeah, Aaron, when we acquired the project, we inherited over a terabyte of data. It's accumulated over $40 million investment, over 200 square kilometer of land package. And we sorted out in the past year, and it's been a very busy year. We raised $8.6 million part of the going IPO process with major strategic investors. And going forward, we see 3 pillars. Our development, we have a 3-pronged development approach towards Minago: exploration, permitting, and feasibility study. So we just put the news out yesterday that we started drilling 9 drill holes. This combination of infill drilling and exploration. So we have some very interesting targets, as well as validating some of the prior high-grade intercepts of over 100 meters of over 1% nickel. And so secondly, on the permitting side, the project actually had been fully permitted back in 2011, 2012. Because time elapsed and there's some minor alterations to the Environmental Act license we have to amend, and the file is had been prepared and filed. We already received 1 round of comments that are minor. So we're hoping that the permitting is well in advance. And on the feasibility, again, the project had a full flagship feasibility in 2011, and we're in the process of tendering updated feasibility. And 2022 is going to be a breakthrough and most exciting year in Minago's 50-year history, because we are on the verge of potentially being able to have the project shovel ready by the end of 2022, complete a feasibility study, and hopefully with additional discoveries throughout exploration efforts. And at today's nickel price, I think the investor will be very, very pleased to see the outcome of the feasibility when they come out.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy year for you guys. So, what sets FLYN Nickel apart from its competitors?
Well, we talked about, I think there are 4 major distinct differentiators FLYN Nickel versus our competitor junior companies on the Toronto Stock Exchange or even Australia Stock Exchange. Number one is grade. There hasn't been really any nickel investment into nickel for the last 13, 15 years. And a lot of nickel sulphide projects the mine has been depleted. And Minago has probably one of the highest grade undeveloped greenfield nickel project in North America at a grade of 0.74% nickel. That's about double of all the other juniors listed on the TSX Ventures that I'm aware of that's open pit optimized. Secondly, is permitting. Aaron, with all the craziness that's going on, if we were to take a project from a discovery to fully permitted, it's going to take you probably about a decade. Just the transferring of the Minago titles and claims from the previous operator to Silver Elephant took us almost 6 months. It would have taken less than 3 weeks. So if you anticipated prior takes 3 years to permit, you're going to multiply that by a factor of at least 2. The project could potentially for Minago be fully permitted by the end of the year. And that will lead us at least 3 to 5 year leg up over other nickel mining projects that are at only the starting point of doing their environmental impact assessment or environmental studies. Third is carbon footprint. If the nickel is going to go into batteries, into cars that promote and that mandates for green energy, the climate change, well, you're not going to buy nickel from laterites. These are the dirtiest, highest copper consumption emissions out of Indonesia, Philippines, with power coming from coal-fired power plants. So in differentiation, you want to look for nickel sulphide project, and in particular in Manitoba, where 97% of the power generated from hydro. So we are potentially the lowest carbon footprint, the lowest carbon intensity of all the nickel projects potentially in the world. We've engaged SCAR consultants who are the leader in the calculations of carbon intensity to perform and validate our theory. And again, I think investors were very pleased. Last but not least, we are really one of the very few pure nickel play. Okay, it's all about nickel. We don't have any byproduct, but we compensate that well with our nickel grade. For investors looking for nickel, not chrome, not iron, not copper, not PGM, especially when you have these multi-metallic deposits, a lot of the times you're not going to be recovered or getting the right proper payables from the smelters. So really, overall, 0.75% grade optimized for open pit. Near permit status today could potentially be fully permitted by the end of the year. Potentially one of the lowest carbon footprint nickel open pit project in the world. And if this is one of the very few exceptional nickel play out there, Aaron.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So,
I just bought 500,000 shares in the market last 2 days. I think there's some flow through shares that came out of the market as part of the financing, a couple of million shares, and we traded 2 million shares these last 2 days. I think now it's an absolute terrific opportunity to establish an entry position into nickel, given the nickel prices right now.
For sure. So, nickel is becoming more and more important in this day and age. As we know, we saw the price climb like crazy over the past week. What's your outlook on the market for nickel, and which catalysts do you see pushing it forward?
Well, Aaron, you look at a commodity analysis, there's nobody knows the answer. However, you got to dissect the nickel outlook from both short-term and the long-term. Let's discuss long-term first in the next 5 to 10 years. Nickel production has been flat to down. 2021 nickel production was 4% less than was 2020. And the trend is not about to reverse. As we mentioned, to commission a new nickel mine is going to take several years. On the demand side, you have the electric vehicle that's literally lending a new renaissance to the nickel market. By 2030, if you assume a 25% penetration rate of EV, which is a very low conservative estimate, you have to double the nickel supply from 5 billion pounds today to 10 billion pounds today. And where is the nickel going to come from? And that's why Elon Musk 18 months ago said that don't worry about the nickel price, mine as much nickel as possible. You have Australia, BHP, going up to Canada, which they seldom do, gobbling up assets. If Elon Musk does their sort of sign an offtake agreement with a US nickel project, that's not even started their environmental baseline studies. They're like 6 years away. So I think on the long-term fundamentals, nickel couldn't be more bullish. And my personal view is reflected by my own actions with the purchase in the open market. Now, in the short term, it's anybody's guess with all the geopolitics that's happening. And the reason nickel has gone from $10 a pound to, as of this morning, halted at $35 a pound on the London Metals Exchange. Some people hedged nickel, and it's carried a $5 billion loss, according to our sources. And nobody knows where it's going to go short term. But given that, because with Russia, Norilsk is the third or fourth largest nickel mine in the world, and there's potential talk of sanctions. So I think after all the volatility is set aside, the fundamentals are still going to be eventually driving the nickel price going forward. I recall, and this is historic, this is not to be relied on, the prior 2011 feasibility study had a break-even price of nickel at around $8. At a 20 million pound per year nickel production profile for Minago, this mine could potentially be generating hundreds of millions of dollars of cash flow per year at a nickel price of half of where we are today, Aaron.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what's the one thing you're most excited about when it comes to FLYN nickel in the short term, you could say?
Well, Aaron, getting the story out. I'm very glad that everybody's well positioned, that had a vision of where nickel is going. I've been pounding on the nickel table for the last 12 months since we acquired the project. And it's getting the story out. I think we are extremely undervalued in our junior peer space. We have a very specific targets and objectives we want to achieve. We're well financed for the entire 2022 exploration expenditures. So there are not going to be additional cheap financing that's going out in the market. And I'm very glad to be reacquainted with the Departure Capitals, and we're just going to get the story out in the capital market and make sure we bring Minago and FLYN Nickel Mining Corp back on the map, okay, of nickel and battery investment community, Aaron.
Definitely. So where's the best place for investors to find out more information about the company?
Yeah, Aaron, we place emphasis on marketing and promotion and making sure we bring investor awareness. Go to www.nickel.com. It's one of the premier nickel addresses, the #1 nickel address we just acquired, and has all information. It's the same copy from FLYNnickel.com, which is FLYNnickel.com. But for all you need, go to nickel.com, and I'm very active Twitter and do have over 1,000 followers, and I tell it like it is. We don't sugarcoat anything. So look me up, John Lee at Silver Elephant, or John Lee at FLYN Nickel. You'll find me there.
Awesome, John. Thanks so much for all those updates. It was nice to have you back, and I look forward to covering the story. It's going to be a volatile year, but hopefully a really successful year.
Yeah, let's do that again soon. Aaron, thank you.
If you like these videos, kindly hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Drop us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, always remember, Departure's capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. Furthermore, this video may or may not have been sponsored by the companies that we've profiled within this video, and we may or may not own shares of any of the profiled companies in this video. If you want to know the full disclosure details, check the description down below, along with thoroughly reading our disclaimer. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.